Hello everyone, and welcome back to Crafted Creations. Today I'm going to show you how I made my custom Captain Tarrful using this Return of the Jedi Chewbacca and this black chrysanthemum figure. First thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is use my boil and pop method video to take the figures apart. Wasn't entirely sure how I was going to tackle this going in, so I kind of played around with different parts, seeing what would make a taller Wookiee, but I also wanted him to be a little bit bulkier than Chewie because he is a bigger Wookiee. If you look at Tarrful compared to Chrysanthemum and to Chewbacca, he's a big boy. Wasn't entirely sure which way to go, so as I was thinking about it, I decided to take a break from mixing and matching, and I wanted to work on the accessory first. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to slice apart BK's bandolier. We're going to chop the little two cross sections off. And we're going to go ahead and glue that down. Now we also need to Dremel off all of these spikes. So we're going to take my Dremel here and we're just going to flatten these down. And once I got those flattened down, I also went over it briefly to kind of smooth out some of the texture on the shoulder pads here. Get all of the chaff off of there. And they smooth down pretty nicely. As you can see, once we slap some paint on here, you won't even really be able to tell. But I'm also going to modify the belt. So we're going to slice off the braid here. And then we're also going to chop a little section off of the belt buckle. The belt buckle on Tarrful is just a square piece, so I'm going to cut off the bottom section and we're going to attach that to the bandolier up top. Just cut off some of the extra there, and then we'll Dremel that down. So Dremel that down, sand it down nice and smooth, and glue that piece down. Now the bandolier part going down towards his stomach, I put that just a tad behind, so that way when I attach the extra piece, it'll kind of level out there. And what I ended up coming up with for the assembly of the figure, we used Chewbacca's chest and torso. I used BK's upper arms and Chewbacca's lower arms. We used BK's legs, and then we also are going to use BK's head, and we're going to heavily modify that so you can't really tell that it's BK. But before we paint, we need to go ahead and get the bandolier and the belt on there. So go ahead and toss the belt over the Chewbacca waist. And we're going to trim a little bit off of the back section here so we can glue that down. Now here's the fun part. Tarrful has braids and like dreadlocks all over his head. So we're going to take off some of the dreads from the back of BK and we're going to reattach those elsewhere on the head. I'm going to take the one from the back here and we're going to put the long braid on the side. We're also going to shorten this braid here in the back, so we're not really going to take a look at the back of the figure. When you're sitting on a shelf, really all you're going to see is the front. So what I'm going to do is cut that one from the middle and we will shave that down a bit. I'm going to attach the second longest one to the other side of the head. And then we're going to use some Sculpey here in just a moment to blend those in with the rest of the sculpt of the figure. Alright, so I glued those down nice and tight. This one we're going to go ahead and put right up towards the top because he does have a little top knot there. So we'll glue that down as well. Alright, so we'll just take our Dremel here and we're going to go ahead and smooth out the parts that we chopped off so that blends better with the figure. Next, we're going to take some Sculpey now that we've got that fully glued down. Just going to roll that up into a nice little coil and smush that down onto his head. And you don't want to use too much, you do want to make sure that it blends nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smash down the Sculpey into the grooves of the hair so that way it has something to stick to. And then once we get it nice and stuck to the original figure, we're going to just take a little bit and do some scoring. Kind of blend that in so it looks like hair. You can use a number of different tools, even a toothpick would work for this. I just happen to have this little scraper here from some accessories laying around the house. So there we go. So now we've got a pretty good base here for the figure. Let's go ahead and start some painting before we fully assemble the head and glue them all down. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put a layer of brown. We're going to use our Apple Barrel Territorial Beige, and we're going to mix that with some of the slightly more reddish brown. We're just going to go ahead and give it a nice base coat all over the face. And then we're going to do the same thing with the body here in just a second. There we go. And then after we get a nice base coat, we're going to go ahead and touch up any spots that we might need. And then we'll start working on some of the highlights on the fur detail here. Alright, so I've got a pretty good base coat going here. I'm just going to fill in some of the gaps that we missed. And then I'm going to take a slightly darker shade and we're going to go ahead and add some of the detail in the face. We're going to darken up the dreadlocks a little bit. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start painting his bandolier. First, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the gold base coat. We're going to put a brown coat to hide that. And once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and put some silver on the shoulder pads. We're going to paint over these, but I wanted to add some silver on the bottom just so none of that gold texture shines through. It'll make a better base coat when we go ahead and paint over that with some of our white here in just a bit. We're going to touch up the belt as well, make that the same color. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and paint the ammo pouches here on the bandolier. There we go. Make sure to get the front and back side there. We're going to go ahead and paint the pouches on the belt next. And then we're also going to paint silver the ties for the braids. Now we're going to go ahead and start with our white. We're going to go ahead and paint the inside part of the shoulder armor. I'm going to go ahead and do both sides. Probably give it 2 or 3 coats just to smooth it out a little bit here. We're going to take some of the beige and we're going to mix that with some of the white to lighten it up. Do some of the highlights on the fur now. used a behind-the-scenes picture from Revenge of the Sith. Go ahead and touch up the fur on the body as well. And we're using the dry brushing technique because I don't want this to be globbed on. We just want to kind of highlight and add different layers. He's an older Wookiee, so he's got some gray in his fur, not totally dark like Chewie. There we go. And then here I'm going to go ahead and go in with the darker brown and just add a little bit of a wash so that it brings out some of the detail in the fur. We're going to go back on the belt and retouch up the chest plate with some gold. And then add the detailing onto the shoulder pads here. And there you have it, folks. There is my custom Captain Tarrful, made entirely out of Return of the Jedi Chewbacca and Black Chrysanthemum. And then I tossed in this weapon from the Atuma Build-A-Figure Marvel Legends wave here. Hope you liked this video. If you look forward to more customs, don't forget to stop by the channel, like and subscribe. And as always, stay crafty.